Yo, what's up? As you can tell from the thumbnail, we're doing our Civilization Revolution tier list today. I hope you guys like the video. If you do, please do leave a like. If you're new to the channel, like what you see, hit that subscribe button as well. Most of all, thank you guys so much for being here. Let's get in there. So, I mean, coming in at number 16, dead last, I'm sure you guys gotta understand, it's the Mongols. They're just the worst civ in the game. They're the only civ in the game that is heavily dependent on RNG just to be able to have a decent map. You gotta hope that you can get decent villages and cities out of the barb huts that you take over. And then most of all too, you miss out on all the specialized resources that you would normally get from capturing the barb huts, and you miss out on like whatever you would get from the barb hut itself, whether it be gold or, you know, a caravan or horsemen, whatever it could be. So it's just basically a lot of losing with them. I mean, they do have some advantages later game, getting the 2+ to mountain regions and stuff like that, but it's a pretty negligible thing when you consider how bad they start. Yeah, so I don't think anybody's surprised, but obviously coming in dead last, we got the Mongols. All right, and to nobody's surprise, the Arabs come in at number 15. It's pretty simple, really. Just starting out with fundamentalism has its advantages. You get the plus attack, you get the plus culture to your capital. That's nice to have, but your libraries also don't generate science, and in the early game, it's really about getting ahead in tech. So to me, they're just kind of one of those civs where it's like if you can get a walk-in on that other civ, or they're spawn close enough to you and you can send a warrior army after them and just take them out, that's awesome. It's great. It's just not every map kind of allows you to have those advantages, so sometimes you're going to struggle. I think that's why they're coming in at 15. At number 14, we have the Russians. This is where we kind of start getting into civilizations that don't have any real major advantage, but they don't have any real major like hindrance to them either, like the Arabs or the Mongols do. So that's why I kind of put the Russians here. I mean, they get the +1 from plain squares. That's nice. That just basically means you can settle wherever you want in the beginning and still have access to food. That's pretty nice. But starting with like kind of that opening map area, that's just pretty weak. It doesn't really help you that much. New defensive units receive loyalty. That's pretty good. I don't personally build riflemen, so their third era thing for getting the half-cost riflemen, to me, that's just not very useful either. And then the half-cost spies in the modern era. If you want to go break down some buildings, you know, maybe steal some great people, that's cool. You can spam that out. But at the same time, it doesn't really help you stay ahead throughout that early part of the game and really build a lead. Coming in next, we got the Spanish at number 13, and really this is pretty simple too. It's just basically they're a lot like the Russians in that they don't have any significant major advantage, but they don't have any major hindrance. Their advantages are just a little bit better, namely just having access to navigation right off the bat. I mean, you can build cities right next to whale resources and automatically pull that. That's pretty sick. And then also being able to build a galleon for the same price you can build a galley at 30 production is also pretty big early, just because you don't have to stay stuck to coasts then. Really helps with that early exploration. That little bit of gold they get too, doubling that gold from naming resources like, you know, whether it's a river or a plain square or something like that. That also kind of helps your early game and kind of helps you work towards getting that first civ or your second city built at 100 gold. So that's why we got these guys just ahead of the Russians. All right, coming in at number 12, I'm not going to lie, this actually kind of hurts my soul a little bit, but we have my favorite civ, the Zulu. The reason I have these guys sitting here is basically just because all the civs in front of them kind of have just a little bit more advantages. Starting out with the +1 warrior movement is really good, though. It's great for that early exploration. It's really good, too, to be able to possibly get a walk-in on another civ, which can really like help out your early game. The rapid city growth is pretty good. 50% to gold production is pretty good. Half-cost riflemen in the modern era is okay, but at that time I'm normally building modern infantry anyway, so that's kind of null. These guys don't have any major hindrances, though, and I will say that that +1 warrior movement in the beginning is one of the best early game advantages in the entire game, I think. Just because it helps with the exploration and possibly, you know, maybe getting a walk-in on a civ or two. So that's why we got these guys coming in at number 12. This might be the actual first shocker of the entire list. We have the Greeks actually coming in at number 11, which is probably higher than some of you guys have them rated. And basically, my mentality on this is pretty simple. They start out with a courthouse, and they start out with democracy. So is what that allows you to do is that allows you to basically take a step in any direction if you want, build your city, and still have access to everything you would need to have a well-balanced starting city, such as 2 production, access to 2 water resources for science or gold, and then access to 2 food production as well that are green and give you 2 food per like square. So that's kind of why these guys really start off. Also, starting off with democracy is really big. You can normally build a pretty decent tech advantage. You get to build pikemen right away. You get more great people, and you get libraries at half cost. And then in the modern era, they get +1 food from sea regions, which is really, really, really good. It's basically like you get a harbor, and then you can build a harbor, and then your sea squares are just as good as, you know, regular green food squares, which is really, really broken, especially for a civ that's really good at being able to push tech. That's why we got the Greeks coming in at number 11. All right, coming in at number 10, we have the Aztecs. The Aztecs are number 10 because they have a bonus in this game that no other civilization gets, and that's the fact that their units will heal after combat. Not only is that awesome early game, it's awesome because it stays with you throughout the entire game. No matter which units you have, no matter how overpowered they are compared to the other civilizations, they're always going to heal after combat. That means you can defend with less units, and that also means you can attack with less units because you don't have to worry about stepping out of enemy territory to heal if your unit doesn't have medic or something like that. Not to mention, you don't even have to burn the turn to heal them with medic, because they automatically heal. It's absolutely amazing. They also start out with 25 gold, so you can build a warrior unit early and actually get out and start civ hunting. They're actually a pretty good civ if you want to go out and try to get a walk-in on another civilization. Them and the Zulu, I think, are actually the two best early game for that. Moving to the medieval era, you get temples producing 3 science. That's also a really good thing, especially if you can discover the thing that gives you temples in all of your cities, that artifact. That's a huge bonus. And then even then, like, I normally play the culture game myself, so building temples in your cities, just helping it produce that little bit of extra science added onto the extra bonuses you get from discovering techs early, that can be a really, really good. All right, this might be the next shocker of the list. We have the Germans coming in at number 9. The Germans come in at number 9 basically because all their warriors start as veterans. This allows you to be able to go out, take over barb huts. As soon as they get upgraded, you can build them into armies. As soon as you discover the next era, say it's Legion or Knights, then those units that are upgraded as far as having like a bonus like infiltration or anything like that, they will automatically upgrade. That just allows you to really just kind of keeps all your troops moving ahead, and like you can really stay aggressive with these guys. I think perhaps their biggest advantage, though, and this is actually why I have them rated so highly, is the simple fact that in the medieval era, they get +1 production from every forest region. Essentially, is what that means is that without having to build anything and being able to build your cities everywhere, where trees are, you know, normally very abundant in maps, you basically get a workshop in every single city you build for free. I mean, add in the fact that in the next era, you get to build barracks at half price. If you want to be aggressive with these guys, you can. But honestly, that production hitting into the medieval era, if you can get there fast enough, it'll set you up to be able to get a sweet culture victory. I mean, you can pull out tech victories with these guys, and then the 2% interest on gold reserves again in the modern era. A little late, but it can help for that extra late push to get an economic victory, or just to kind of, you know, round out the end of your game and finish it the way you want to. So the Germans are actually a really, really, really good civ. Probably underrated by some, but it is really that production in the medieval era that puts them into that top 10 and sets them at number 9. All right, so coming in at number 8, we have the French. The French are a pretty good civ, basically because they allow you to establish firm territorial control over your area very, very early, basically because they just start out with that cathedral. That gives you another benefit, which is you start generating great people pretty quick, which is huge for these guys. Aside from that, they don't have any real major thing. I mean, the half-price roads, kind of whatever for me. The +2 to cannon attack is nice, but cannon units take damage, so I normally don't even build them. +1 rifleman movement, again, kind of an okay thing. But the simple fact is that for somebody like me who really likes to build into culture, starting out with a civilization that gives you like an instant bonus to that, and I know these guys, again, don't have like the benefits of the English later game and stuff like that, but they are, I think, a little bit better in that early game for that early culture push. The great people that you get from it, especially because it's not something that goes away when you change government, right? And I think that's the real thing that kind of sets them apart from the English, is that this never goes away. You can swap government and you get to keep your cathedral. It's huge. All right, guys, we got the Japanese coming in at number 7. I know this might cause some controversy, but just hear me out. The simple fact that they start with +1 food to all sea regions means you can literally build with these guys anywhere in the entire game. Not only does it mean that you can build with them anywhere, but it means that all of your cities are gonna instantly have access to more science or gold production, specifically because they can generate food that way. you're able to build just an insane lead early with these guys in the tech game. And if you can get out and get the gold, get your second city built early enough, and then start using that to just crank out other settlers as soon as it gets to population 3, just build another set of settlers and just get them out. If you can take over a fair amount of the map with these guys, like, you're going to be pretty much unstoppable. Just a really, really strong civ. I mean, I know, like, kind of going down the list, access to ceremonial burial, kind of whatever. It does give you access to walls a little bit earlier as far as being able to build them in the tech path. That's nice. Nothing major game breaking. +1 to the Samurai Knight attack. That's good too if you want to go out and you want to kind of go for that domination victory with knights early. Not something I normally do. City's not affected by anarchy. It can be okay if you need to swap. Nothing great. New defensive units receive loyalty. That's okay in the modern era, but I'm going to be honest with you, man. And, like, I know that's why this is going to be the controversy, is just that they really only have that one significant advantage. It's just that it is so significant and it comes at the perfect time for them. It's really hard to kind of put any of those other civs that we have behind them ahead of them because they just don't have it. They just don't have it, man. That +1 food, like food and science together as a resource, having access to that early, it's huge. It's just major. So that's why we got these guys coming in at number 7. All right, coming in at number 6, we have the English. And the English are sitting here basically because they're actually a really, really good civ. They start off with monarchy. That gives you a couple benefits. Obviously, you're going to generate extra culture early. That'll help you kind of get a push for great people. It'll also help you establish territorial control similar to the French. The other thing they get, though, which is a little bit better than the French, is they get instant access to dye. Getting instant access to that early game is a huge benefit. I mean, that's kind of one of the things that's nice with the Indians, is getting access to early resources. But theirs is kind of incremental. You have to build up to get, like, the full benefit of it. Whereas with these guys, getting to instant access to that early and then being able to just start with being able to build anywhere you want along those die squares and get that immediately can just really help build your tech up early, can get your gold going early. Huge benefit. On top of that, they start off with longbow archers, which have the same defensive power as pikemen. So you basically get a unit that's as good as pikemen, an era earlier, and cheaper. Huge. Add on top of it, you get +1 to naval combat in medieval area, +1 production from hills and in the industrial era, and then in the modern era, your naval support doubles. These guys are just a really, really, really awesome civ to use, especially if you like building a navy, dude. You can do so much damage with these guys. We did a defensive unit only domination challenge with the English, and it was because of the naval support bonus being doubled that we were actually able to win that. We were losing actually in the tech game for most of it. We ended up catching up, and then we actually ended up being able to win specifically because the naval support doubled with our battleships. They're just a really, really good civ. They have solid benefits throughout their eras, and that's why we got them coming in at number 6. All right, man, coming in at number 5, we have the Chinese. The Chinese are number 5 because they start off with +1 population in each of their cities. It's just a huge benefit. It basically puts you, if you will, about 10 turns ahead of the other civs as far as where that city would normally be in its rotation if you follow my strategy. So that kind of allows you just to kind of get going on. I mean, I get my warriors out at the same time, but I'm able to turn to population 4 sooner, which then allows me to kind of get my temple or my library built a little bit earlier. And then when you build new cities, they start with that +1 population, so you don't have to grow them to population 3 to crank out another set of settlers. So they're a really, really, really good civ to start early and go out and just start populating as long as you have the production or the gold to do it. Moving into that next era when they get knowledge illiteracy, that's really nice because that just opens up that tech path going towards university. It'll kind of help you get through engineering and all that sort of stuff, and the benefits you get from discovering those first is huge. You get half-cost libraries in the industrial era. I think that one comes a little bit late. Normally, by the time I hit the industrial era, I've had, libraries built in most of my cities. I've had most of my cities built, and I'm not really looking at building new places, so that comes a little bit late, but it is useful if you are still cranking out cities at that point. And then modern era, cities not affected by anarchy. It's not a huge benefit, but it is pretty nice if you're trying to, just keep your production up in cities. And then you need to switch, to like maybe move off of democracy so you can attack somebody, or maybe move over to monarchy to try to, control a culture push that another civ is putting on you or something like that. Overall, a really well-balanced civ, but it's that +1 population starting out, and the fact that they get that in every city they build, allowing to spam cities cities out and just crank out that civilization and be able to just like kind of build and take over a map. They're a great civilization to do that. Really heavy technology civilization as well, which if you win technology game, you can win pretty much any way. That's why we got the Chinese coming in at number 5. Solid civilization. Coming in at number 4, we actually have the Indians, and I know that this is probably going to surprise some people, but having access to all resources, no matter what, early game, is one of the most broken ass things in this game. Total. It basically means that you can settle anywhere. Like, you can literally settle anywhere you want in the entire map, and you're going to have access to specialized resources. They're the only civilization in the game that gives that. Their capital is the only one that will actually start out with a specialized resource right next to them as well. So that's another big thing. If you get a good one in your capital, you can really be set up for like a solid push into the late and mid game. Moving on, I mean, city's not affected by anarchy. That's kind of whatever, but it can be nice if you want to swap back and forth between like democracy and republic early game just to get a couple more cities out, and then swap back to democracy for the added bonus to science and gold production. So that's actually a really nice thing to have. Knowledge of religion is kind of meh. If you want to go to fundamentalism and go attack people, you can do that. It's kind of funny that the Indians actually even have that, considering that, you know, Gandhi was notoriously peaceful, but whatever. Half-cost settlers in the industrial era, I think, comes just a little bit late. If we would have got that in the medieval era, it probably would have been pretty good. Still can get units out, and the fact that, again, you're not, don't need to worry about being affected by anarchy. Swapping back and forth between republic and then democracy is something that you can do without losing production in your cities. So it is nice to have, especially if you want to kind of go spam out some cities on some islands that you found later. Half-cost courthouse also, I feel like, comes a little bit late as far as hitting the modern era. But if you're able to push through technology fast enough with these guys, you might actually get it in a time when you can like really, really use it. But overall, man, it's really just being able to start out with access to all specialized resources throughout the entirety of the game. It's just a really, 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 really good bonus. And I kind of feel like if you go up against a game with the Indians in it, no matter what, they're always going to be competition. That's why we got these guys coming in at number 4. All right, man. Starting out our top 3, we have the Egyptians coming in. Basically, it's pretty simple with these guys. They have a similar benefit to the Japanese in getting to have +2 science or food from a science or food region, right? The Japanese get it from water. These guys get it from desert squares. The thing is that they also get +1 trade to the square as well. So that in itself is pretty broken. Add on top of the fact that they actually start off with a wonder being built in their city. If you can get Colossus built within this city, and if you can get put next to a couple desert resources, especially if there's a river running by it where it'll increase the food production from it down the road, just really, really, really nasty civilization to start with. Helps with culture. It can help with technology. Just really, you kind of get just a solid just jump start on pretty much every other civilization in the game starting off. The Egyptians are just an insanely good civilization to start with. Knowledge of irrigation in the second era, it's pretty mid. Honestly, when I have them, I normally try to research irrigation before I discover it, just so I can get the +1 population in each of my cities. If you don't research it and you just discover it by hitting the medieval era, you will not get the benefit, even if you got it first. So that's kind of one of the knocks on these guys. The +1 rifleman movement, kind of meh. The +50% caravan gold, kind of meh, especially considering it comes in the modern era. I don't really ever even build caravans, so that to me is pretty much worthless. But starting off with a wonder in your city and what they can do on desert regions, and that just staying throughout all their civs, you win or lose this game in the beginning. How you start this game will determine whether or not you win or lose. Being able to start with them having such a significant advantage, a jump start above every other civilization, no matter who it is, it's undeniable. They're a power civ, and that's why we got them coming in at number 3. I'm not gonna lie, man, this one kind of hurts my feelings a little bit. It does. It really does. But coming in at number 2, we got the Americans. They're just a really, really, really solid civilization as far as having solid benefits just throughout their existence. They start off with plus 2% interest to gold reserves, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, but getting that early is actually a really big deal. Add on top of it that they actually start the game with a great person. You can use that great person to actually explore the land around you early, maybe pick up some friendly villages, maybe discover some rivers, stuff like that, get some named resources to pick up some extra gold, then bring them back into your city and have them settle. Just a really, really, really awesome civilization to start with because of all of those benefits. The rushing units at half price is stupidly kind of broken. I mean, that includes settlers, military units, everything. Anything in the game you get to rush for half price. That's where like the 2% interest in gold reserve comes in big handy too, right? You get that before that the second bonus even kicks in. Massive bonus. +1 food to plane squares in the industrial era. I mean, anytime you're getting +1 food, that's a pretty big bonus. This is the same bonus that the Russians actually start with. These guys do get it a little bit later, but again, I mean, just starting off the way they do, being able to rush units at half price, you'll be able to spam cities, stay ahead in the tech game, get your gold up, get your free granaries and all your cities at 1,000 gold, you're set. Modern era, these are one of the like only civilizations in the game I think that actually has a really significant advantage when you hit that modern era. Factories triple production. You can spam cities earlier because of your gold production, rushing units at half price. You can build anywhere because of the +1 food from plane squares. And then when you build factories in your cities, they all triple production. It's broken. It's broken as hell. I've literally had civilizations in this game where when I built them in the right place, I had production in my city of over 200 production. That was without any future technology. Like, it's just what you can do with them as far as just cranking out wonders, cranking out military units. I mean, your production is so high. If you can rush there and get there like you should be able to with them, then domination in any way you want. You can win any way you want with these guys, and you're set up to do so pretty much from the beginning. The Americans are one of the best civs in the game. Awesome advantages throughout. Everything's helpful. So that's why we got the Americans coming in at number 2. All right, man, last but not least, and I don't think this is a surprise to anybody, but we have the Romans coming in as the best civilization in Civilization Revolution. It really comes down to the fundamentals. You win or lose early game. They start with Republic. You can just crank out cities with these guys from the get-go. Just nail them out. Just rail them out. You can build anywhere you want. You could establish territorial control. You can literally just own the map early game as long as you get the gold to do it. So my suggestion with them is kind of follow my strat. Get your 100 gold, get your free set of settlers, build that city, and then just start cranking out settlers from that. As soon as it turns to population 2, as soon as you settle your 3rd city, build more settlers. Just keep building settlers with these guys. Start getting them out. That's going to get your technology up. You're going to start rolling through technology, and then you're going to get into the half-cost wonders. That's where they break the game. That's where everything absolutely breaks for these guys. You can build Magna Carta for half price. I mean, by this time, sometimes I'm getting Colossus for half price. Sometimes I'm getting freaking Hanging Gardens for half price. Early game, getting those is awesome. Trade fair, half price, awesome. Just East India Company for, 100 production is insane. I mean, that's so stupid. You have to, freaking courthouse, for God's sakes, cost 80 production. So it's like, when you like start looking at it in terms like that, I mean, they are just an insane civ, particularly because they set you up to win any way you want because you can build the wonders you want, right? You can spam cities out, establish control, you'll stay ahead in tech that way. Then you can start cranking out wonders. You can take over culture. Nobody's really going to be able to push into you. If they build cities by you, you're going to take those by culture, right? If you build Magna Carta, stuff like that, awesome. Get more great people in the industrial era. They're always cranking out great people, especially because your culture is high. So, I mean, these things are just like, it's compounding interest, right? Compounding interest. We're just getting all these awesome things. In the modern era, starting new cities get +1 population. Honestly, kind of worthless. But at that point, it doesn't matter because you've pretty much already won the damn game. You know what I mean? Like, you win the game in the ancient, modern, or medieval eras with these guys. That's when you establish control, and you'll pretty much never lose it. They're the most broken-ass civilization in the game by, honestly, like a pretty significant margin. Like, I wanted to put the Americans at 1, but I genuinely, in no frame in my mind, could I make any type of valid argument for it. Specifically because they're able to crank out settlers just from the get-go, and then the half-price wonders. Absolutely broken. Absolutely insane. All right, guys, that's the list. Starting at 16, going to 1. You guys let me know in the comments what you think. I know there's going to be some things in there that cause some controversy. No, I did not place them there specifically for it. I genuinely believe, though, that this is the definitive list. So you guys let me know what you think. I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, please do leave a like. If you're new to the channel, like what you see, or you just haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button as well. Most of all, like always, thank you guys so much for watching. I really, really do appreciate the hell out of y'all. Have a great one. We'll see you in the next video.